Okay, the floor is open for any questions that anybody may have. Now, what I would like to ask, and I would like to reserve the right to basically deal with questions that are connected with this topic. I know there are Muslim brothers and sisters here, and there's a lot of questions, right? But some of them is going to go too far off in another angle. And with respect to the non-Muslims who are here tonight, we want to keep it restricted to the topic itself and not go too much. There's a question about the Ahmadiyya movement. There's about Sufism in Islam and all this. I mean, brothers and sisters, we can have a session afterwards, man. We can have a session, man. But we want to deal with this thing. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the speech and the light. I have a question about most of the examples you gave Muslims or Islam resisting slavery. Most of the examples you gave were people that were going to be enslaved, so it would make sense that they would resist slavery. So what I'd like to hear more from you, since you have much more knowledge than I do, as present day Islam resisting slavery.
Well, basically speaking, slavery, as you know, has taken different forms. And what I would say is that slavery today, has gone from ball and chain slavery to economic slavery. And there's also psychological slavery. Because really, what has happened to African people in the West, as I'm sure you're aware of, is that people were enslaved not only physically, but they were enslaved psychologically, mentally, spiritually. And so therefore, there's a physical resistance where you fight back the system, you run away, you revolt, okay? But now when the institution is gone, the slave institution in this part of the world, for instance, doesn't exist. However, there's a psychological one. There's a spiritual one, where people are being put down, where racism is continuing. And so you will find that one of the elements or one of the important aspects that Islam has to bring to this part of the world is that concept of submission to the Creator and not to created things. And so you will find that there are Muslims in different parts of America, the Caribbean, who are trying to give their children like a different definition of life and resist that old Christopher Columbus mentality type of thing. In the Muslim world itself, okay, as I said, the Muslim world is going through a very serious change in the sense that the authority themselves, the authorities, in most cases, represent the colonial period. The colonial period has not ended in the Muslim world. It is what you could call the neo-colonialism, the new colonialism. And so there are people who are ruling the Muslim world now who are still holding the masses of the people down. They're still favoring one family or another family. They're still dividing people. They're still being tools of imperialism. And so therefore, Muslims are resisting it throughout the Muslim world, and there is a great change which is going on there. And so this is really how it is being resisted, because slavery as an institution, in terms of a marketplace and buying and selling and that type of institution, really, from my own understanding, I haven't seen it. There's a brother from California named Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. He studied in Mauritania. He lived in Mauritania for a while. And his witness was he never saw it, buying and selling of people. He never saw that. In the Sudan, actually next week at Rutgers University, there's going to be a very important session. If any of you can get up to Newark, New Jersey, next Saturday, the Minister of Justice of the Sudan is going to be there. He's going to be on the firing line. Also, Dr. Suleiman Yang, who is a Gambian scholar in Howard University, and myself, inshallah, will be on this panel, and it's dealing with slavery. So the Minister of Justice is going to be there, man. So I don't know what's going on in the Sudan itself. What I do know is that, basically what I've heard from it is that the government in the north, basically, and the people in the north, they are not involved in this. If there are people who are involved in raiding or trading, these are renegades. This is a renegade group that is doing this. It is not a group which is attached to the mainstream Islamic movements in the north. This is what I understand so far. But most of the parts of the Muslim world, what is going on, it is a resistance to economic slavery. In other words, what is happening in the Islamic system, for instance, there is no interest. And so there are banks being developed now, economic systems that would not be capitalist or not be socialist. They're outside of the realm of the so-called East and Western systems. So that is a very serious resistance that is going on in that sense. In the other sense, there are no marketplaces, and there's nothing like that even to resist there. However, people who are oppressed in low classes and low castes or groups like that, if they exist in the Muslim world, you generally find there's a struggle going on right now. There's a struggle with these authoritarian groups who are trying to maintain supremacy over the masses of the people. This is basically what is happening there. Any other oral questions anybody has?